Okay, you're live. Hi, Arti. Welcome to an hour with LawSikho. So, everyone, this is Ramanuj, this side, and I have with me Arti Mashru from Lexblurb. I met Arti a long time back when I was still a rookie lawyer at Trilegal, and Arti used to be the business development manager there, and she used to, run around making some presentations, and in between she used to go for a smoke in the balcony, and that's when I used to catch her, and that's how I know her. So after I left Trilegal, she was there for a while, and then she did a lot of interesting things uh, in some other law firms as well, about which we'll directly hear from her. Uh, so, Aarti, why don't you tell us, like, you have been doing business development and marketing for some of the top law firms. Uh, what exactly you have been doing?
I've been doing a whole lot of things because what I've noticed is that, at least in the Indian law firms, whether it's marketing, whether it's business development, whether it's visibility generation, everything is called business development. It all falls under the same banner for law firms as far as India is concerned. Everywhere else, of course, it all is different functions. Marketing is more about generating visibility. Business development is more about getting direct clients. PR is also a part of marketing, gets into the visibility generation. Whereas in India, it's all in the same bracket. So whether it was Trilegal, whether it was AZB Partners, whether it was economic loss practice, everywhere, all of those places have been doing pretty much end to end everything that's needed to either help support generate more business or increase the visibility of the firm or get the firm positioned or give it the right positioning um, in the view of its audience that it deserves somewhere. I remember when I joined economic laws practice, the first thing that I noticed and what I read about it was that it's a tax firm, whereas the fact was that it's actually a full service firm. So it needed the right positioning, it needed the right impression to be created within the market, uh, that would do justice to what it is actually doing out there, which is what I had been doing, helping with business development, helping with marketing, helping with visibility, supporting the lawyers in whatever activities they were doing to build their own personal brand, their practice brand, their firm's brand, uh, and
Okay.
be
So,
successful.
brand building, positioning, these are some of the buzzwords we keep hearing. But
Yes.
before we go into that, I want to ask you something. So, your designations are completely different in these three law firms, right? So, at
Yes.
AZB, you were head of business development. At ELP, you were communications director or communications. What was the exact designation?
Head of corporate
Head
communications.
of corporate communications. And what about Trilegal?
Trilegal, I joined as manager business development and gradually got promoted to senior manager business development.
So I find it very interesting that you're saying you're doing more or less the same job, but in one place you are called corporate communications, and in another place business care. Is there any difference in the approach, or is it just a coincidence that
There is a difference as far as business development is concerned, or communications and marketing is concerned. It's actually two very, very different things. Marketing is what helps you get the visibility. It also helps you prepare or gives you the tools that you need to have to be able to get more business. And business development is more about getting out there and getting business for yourself. So it's two very different things. In law firms, of course, if you are not a lawyer, if you haven't practiced yourself, then it's very difficult to get business. So what business development departments or business development personnel like me actually do in law firms is support the lawyers in those activities. Uh, Something as simple as doing market research as to if you're trying to target more of the manufacturing companies and which are the manufacturing companies in India and which location, how to approach them, coming up with a strategy around that, and also helping with the marketing material that needs to be in place to go and speak to them, present your credentials, and discuss how the firm can help them out. So the
so in a way
materials. Sorry, can you hear me?
you create like an opportunity for the lawyers to actually go and have a fruitful meeting.
Yes, very much so. You equip them with what is needed to be able to have a productive
So
discussion.
basically, you did what made the lawyers look smarter when they went for it.
I'm sure they're inherently smart. They learned what they needed to practice law. They had been practicing law. I was just equipping them, dressing them up the right way, packaging them the right way.
Right. I think that's actually very valuable and thing. I mean, many lawyers would love to have it. So what I but still to understand, like, how is communications different from business development in a law firm, or do they really have a difference, or it's actually the same?
There is a big difference because law firms, unlike corporates or a company which is selling a product, law firms is more about knowledge. It's more about information. It's more about your expertise. And communications plays a big role if you're trying to sell knowledge and expertise, because
Mhm.
you are basically trying to sell content out there. And
Okay.
that's why it's essential to have some sort of a communications department, a communications desk, a communication strategy as to how you will be trying to market yourself or how you will be marketing your content out there to be able to build a brand.
Right. Right. I have a very interesting question here. It's like we keep hearing that law is a noble profession and lawyers must not, you know, behave like common businessmen and like put them out there in the market to as if their services are for sale. It is not. Okay, and this kind of an idea. So, how like from your experience of working with some of the top law firms, like how do you think of this thing? Like, I'm sure even now that you are offering this as a service to various lawyers and law firms, do you come across the sentiment that lawyers should not be marketing?
Marketing itself is a very debatable term, honestly speaking. Um, why I say that is because let's talk about communications. What is communications? You're trying to talk to somebody, you're trying to share information with somebody, you're trying to interact with somebody. Uh, is it a crime to interact with somebody? Is it a crime to share information with somebody? No, it's not. So then how can marketing be a crime? Because marketing is all about just giving out
Advertising is
information.
banned, right? Like I'm just saying that advertising is banned. I understand, but I don't think.
Advertising is definitely banned, and that's where the whole solicitation bit also comes in. Whereas what I do, what I focus on, is helping just communicate. Honestly speaking, it's about sending out what you already know, what you already have, sending it out or sharing it in the right manner, which will give you a certain kind of a result. I'm not saying solicit. I don't tell my clients you need to solicit. None of the newsletters will ever say, please write back to us, please comment, please call us if you have another question. What you write should automatically raise that question in the reader's mind. They should feel the urge to actually pick up the phone and speak to you without you having to ask for it.
So basically, you are saying that communication or business development in a way is uh, somewhere generating such value out there, maybe through any medium that is available to one. It could be writing newspapers, could be social media, or anywhere that it is, creating value so that people actually come back to you and look up to you as a thought leader, perhaps.
Very much so.
Okay. So I wanted to understand. You mentioned in your previous answer that about market research. So how do you help lawyers with market research, and what role does it really play in a law firm's practice development?
So market research is actually a very basic thing that anybody who's trying to start a business or do business or even grow their business should be somewhere getting into, because it's about understanding your audience, it's about understanding your market, it's about understanding your targets or your practice, sorry, your prospects. And that's where the research comes in. And I'm not saying it needs to be a scientific research, I'm not saying it has to be an extensive activity. uh, Something as simple as, and I'll give you an example, that I had a client who wanted to start a newsletter, and my first question was that, how do you know people want to read this?
Right.
Why do you want to write on this? Have you asked anybody whether they're ready to read this? Because what is so different about you writing this as compared to everybody else writing it? So that's where your research comes in. Just asking simple questions to the relevant people out there, relevant audience, uh, about what pains them, what interests them, and would they be open to receiving information or solutions relating to that. That's where your research comes into the picture. Somewhere understanding is to what your market is, what your market wants, and then giving a solution as per that, creating a value for your relevant prospects basically. Of course, getting more in depth into it is how to know as to who the right audience is or who these people are. If you're somebody who's trying to practice or who's trying to advise startups, then that's where the research comes in, as to which are the new startups in India, who are the entrepreneurs out there. And that's where more research for somebody like me comes into the picture. I prepare a list, I do extensive search online and through other platforms to figure out which are the startups in India, which are the entrepreneurs, which are the institutes churning out entrepreneurs, and approaching them, speaking to them, and understanding as to what their entrepreneurs are looking for in terms of legal advice.
Okay. So
All of this comprises research. It's basically trying to understand as to what your target audience is looking for, and then coming up with a solution rather than just throwing what you want to give out there.
right. So I think this is an extremely systematic approach compared to what most lawyers are doing today. Mostly, we try to see somebody else's practice and just simulate it. But
Yeah, we replicate ourselves.
if it is
We become a cookie cutter. All the cookies are the same shape.
yeah, but I think what you're suggesting that to go out in the market and understand through a research that what is where the opportunities arise. I think this works in both ways. Firstly, I don't see that how this is probably not marketing exactly, but it's just a systematic approach to your practice to understand where the new opportunities are coming up and in what shape they are coming and how ready we are to take those opportunities. Right.
Yeah, it's simple. It's simple economics. Just understanding what the demand is and supplying that.
Right, right. Fantastic. So you also mentioned something about positioning. So
Yes.
what is your experience with law firms and lawyers positioning themselves? Just one question. I know that you work with law firms, but you work with individual lawyers as well, right?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So
So what,
positioning. Yeah. Go on.
so how do law firms and lawyers usually position themselves, and how do you help them with this? What is your advice?
I help them with number one, clarifying what the positioning is supposed to be. And I did give you an example while I was in house. Firm is widely known for one particular practice, whereas it's actually a full service firm. So how do you somewhere change that? So then we come up with a strategy, we come up with a plan that if we are supposed to be a full service firm, if we want people to know us as a full service firm, then what do full service firms do? What do full service firms, where do they appear majorly? Whether it's online platforms, whether it's news, or what sort of activities do they participate in? Because the reason you're not being seen as a full service firm is because somewhere you're lacking that initiative.
Okay.
And it's also a lot about clarifying your own communications. If your employees are not very clear about this, whatever they're writing in terms of whether it's firm profiles, introductory emails, posting on their own LinkedIn or Facebook profiles, if they themselves are not very clear about what their firm is doing, then the positioning and the firm's offerings are going to get very mixed up and jumbled out there in the market's perception.
I think this is a very common thing. Somebody at top thinks that okay, now we are doing X, although we are doing Y for the last 10 years. Now we are doing X, but somehow it doesn't get communicated downwards, and people resist. In an organization, there's a culture, there's a thought process. So even if you want to do something new, everybody resists. So
Yeah, that's why I said communications is very important.
yeah, so some
It's
amount
a
of
vital function.
information and design is required. So this is very interesting. Now I think it is high time after discussing these few concepts, we come to the real thing that we said we'll be talking about today, which is how to create an online presence for lawyers, right? So before we go into specific ways of creating online presence, I would like to ask you, what are the different elements of online presence? Even before that, actually, I think we should answer the question as to do a lawyer has to really get online? If yes, then when? And what is the necessity? I'm sure it is not necessary that every lawyer has to have an online presence, right? Do you think that every lawyer has to have an online presence?
I think every lawyer does need to have an online presence, at least in this day and age. Reason being that everything is online. Whether it's your clients, whether it's your peers, whether it's your seniors, or whether it's your juniors, everybody is online. And a lot more is happening online as opposed to offline in this day and age, honestly speaking. So um,
Okay.
it's
But I would
rather,
say today maybe still be possible to build a practice, a good practice without being having any online presence.
no, it's not possible. That's my personal belief. I don't think it's possible at all.
Wow. You are saying it is not possible at all. So why is it so that it's not possible today to build a practice without having an online presence?
Because a large part of uh, your readers, your audience, your prospects, your peers, your competitors, all of them active online. So if there is no inkling of you out there in the online world, you are somewhere invisible. You do not exist in a way.
Okay, but say I'm a good lawyer. Say I am a good lawyer who's doing. I'm great at arguing before a tribunal, TDSAT. Okay, so clients will come to me because I'm great at arguing before TDSAT. How does it matter if I'm not on
How are
TDSAT?
those clients coming to you? From where are they coming to you? Your friends, your existing client referring somebody to you?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that pipeline going to dry up sooner or later, especially when everybody else out there is
But
already talking about their expertise online?
no, I
Let's
think
go.
like let's say I want to hire a lawyer before TDSAT. I would go and ask my other people who might know, maybe lawyers in Delhi, maybe lawyers who are in telecom teams, TMT teams. I'll ask them, somebody who's really fabulous.
Ramanuj,
Uh,
between you and me, honestly tell me, do you actually pick up the phone and ask your friends, or do you just type stuff in Google?
I do type stuff in Google, yeah,
Google is the
admittedly.
first, yeah, Google is the first tool that we use, whether we are looking for a lawyer, a doctor, a hospital, a restaurant, everything.
I,
Holiday spots,
I,
schools, colleges.
but I would also like, I'll not rely on like the first lawyer I see on Google. Like if it is
Of
a,
course not. Of course not. That's where your that's where everybody's due diligence comes in. You want to know more about the name that has been thrown up at you by Google, and whether the name gets thrown up to you on Google or not is where your entire online presence related question rises up. As to, do you have a profile online? Is somebody talking about you online? If you have a profile online, what information have you presented in that profile, and what else are you doing in terms of sharing knowledge, information to back
I
that?
fully understand, but I am trying to make a case for the fact that it may be possible to build a. And it's totally playing devil's advocate, and
Uh,
but I find it
I,
difficult to believe. So let's say that I have a matter in which 5 crores are at stake, right? Not much 5 crores are at stake, but it's a significant money for me. So I would be definitely asking my friends about who are the good lawyers before TD side. Won't you do that?
definitely.
So if you do that, then the names you hear, do you think online world has an influence on that, or it's simply a function of how good I am before the court?
No, I think the online world does have an influence. Reason also being that somewhere, if a person is that good, if it is a 500 crore case or something as you mentioned, uh, there is a whole lot of other talk around that case also that happens, and that talk would also be within newspapers and you know other parties involved within the case when they write about it. And that makes a big difference. The authenticity of that particular case and the authenticity of what actually happened within that case in some way or the other formed in that online world. The story is somewhere there. And having that presence within that story makes it authentic as far as
So
proving your involvement is concerned.
in a way, I find it really,
You're breaking up, I think there's
a lot of lawyers will find it even today very difficult to believe that without that they have to be online to be counted, you know. But honestly speaking, I totally see where you're coming from because even if I'm asking my friends about, who should I go to if I have a case before a tribunal. Probably even their opinions are being shaped by who they see every day on social media. So people are spending more time on social media than they spend on TV, especially the intelligent people who are professionals. For us, LinkedIn and Twitter, and we follow people, we track people, right? And I think what we see people posting and saying about other people has a huge impact on how we form our perception about those people. And
Yep.
I think that is where law firms and lawyers are now taking it very seriously to see how their perception is being managed on the social media, or even on in any other platform like Google or anywhere for that matter. And although I know like traditionally lawyers have succeeded to beat public perception. Like the idea was that you are a fantastic lawyer, maybe everybody hates you. Ram Jethmalani goes and represents killers of Indira Gandhi and who are like, and he can be hated for that, and it doesn't impact his practice. But perhaps social media is changing the world in such a way that you have to stay relevant. You have to be online and have a presence. But do you think that lawyers are taking it seriously yet?
Yes, there is this whole generation of lawyers, I would say. I wouldn't say segment. I think it's more about the generation. There is a generation of lawyers which is really taking it seriously because they themselves are they're active. They're seeing their peers, their colleagues. They're seeing their classmates and everybody getting more active. That's how they're actually getting the information also about as to what happened in which court, what happened in which city, and somewhere they're feeling that they need to be more active. And considering they are more tech savvy, they are that active right now on the online platform, and they do understand the need for it as well. And then there is this other generation of lawyers which has a sense of the importance of it, uh, has the will and the wish to do it, but somewhere, the approach, the methodology is lacking a little bit because they are not as hands on with how the online world works as opposed to.
Now that you're saying that, I remember a very interesting situation that I came across. So we offer various online courses, and we had this lady. She was a established criminal lawyer in Bangalore, and she signed up on our course because she wanted to you know, learn business law, and it's like more not necessarily that she wants to practice it, but she said, I want to know these things, and she signed up for a business law course, and she was doing it. And we give assignments, right? And she would write the assignment, and I would like to, like, I tried to persuade her that why don't you publish these? You can publish it in the newspaper, you can publish this on any of the blogs that you like. We have our own platform. We are happy to publish there. And she would be like, "Why should I do that? Why should I publish my art?" So I would suggest that maybe we help you get some relevant people to find out about your expertise, and they might want to contact you after that. She would say that it is not possible. Even if there is any client, I'll find really terrible clients from the internet. I don't want. Okay, and I don't want to deal with people from the internet. So I'm quite sure that the many lawyers today are still having this approach. This is not very long, like this is probably a year back. Although the world is changing so fast, like last year my mother was not on Instagram, but now she is. So things
Yeah.
are changing very fast. But do you see somewhere that a lot of lawyers are resisting this going online business?
I think getting the information out there about what you know, where your expertise lies, and talking more about it helps you establish that expertise within the online world and the audience of the online. It's very important, and one big example is myself, because when I started Lexblurb last year, the first thought was that while I'm getting clients and while I'm also training some of my juniors as to, how to manage things and what needs to be done, why it needs to be done in a certain way. Uh, I also used to get a whole lot of queries from people aspiring to get within the, law firm, business development, law firm, marketing space. And being a startup, of course, you also have your hands full with trying to manage everything on your own. So what I started doing was I started writing more about legal marketing. Right, I started addressing questions relating to what used to get asked to me, in private messages, through phone calls, through WhatsApp chats from the younger generation trying to build their own expertise and experience within law firm marketing. And I started writing those blog posts, not just on my website. I put them more on LinkedIn because that's where I was getting the majority of the queries from. And you wouldn't believe, apart from, getting very great feedback and, getting the validation that definitely what you're suggesting is right. I also got close to 6 mandates, and I was pretty much blocked. My bandwidth was completely blocked about as far as manage being able to service the clients is concerned. Simply because they saw the expertise in what was being presented out there. I didn't have to pick up the phone to speak to anybody, and out of those six, four were new. They weren't known to me. I had never interacted with them besides them coming across my article. So the value of putting your information out there, putting your expertise out there on the right platform, uh, is immense somewhere. And what also happens is that once something is online, it's there for good. It's there forever, unless you bring it down, of course. So, but it also creates an archive about what you have to say.
Right.
So even if somebody 10 years down the line is trying to look for information related to something that they are facing and they're going through, and you had published an article 10 years back and it's still online, they will be able to come across it, they'll be able to find it, and they'll pick up the phone and speak to you. Most probably you're just writing an email to you.
So it kind of adds up over time. Like you
Yes, it
know,
definitely does. It definitely does.
it adds up. Like you have more followers, you get more, you have a lot more content out there, so more people come to you. And
Yeah, because it's not just about building or trying to get more business. It's also about being a thought leader in the market, inspiring the generation which is trying to get into the same,
maybe giving a new way to the people, and like new way to your
Hmm.
peers, setting new standards. Like the number of people.
Correct, correct. You see a whole lot of, inspirational quotes being given by the leaders of the country, by celebrities, by movies, and all of that. A lot of us resonate to those motivational quotes. So why don't we just put our own thoughts out there rather than posting somebody else's quote and, showcase that thought process out there and inspire the people who look up to us through our own words. I can't hear you. I think you've muted the microphone.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
So one extremely important factor is that apart from the new people that you can bring on board through your online presence, which is basically a persona which you project about what your expertise is, or what are the things you know, or what you have been doing, or even what you are interested in. As simple as that.
Yeah.
You're sharing that with the world, and I think a lot of people think that this is about getting new clients and
No.
connecting with like strangers who may be or may not be relevant to you. I think the biggest value of being online and being connected and being on social media, creating content and sharing content, a lot of it is about actually catering to the people you already know, shaping the perception of the people who are already in your network. Maybe maybe you're a great cyber lawyer, but your people who live in your building doesn't know, or your school friends don't even know that you are doing
Yeah.
cyber,
Yeah.
and or maybe you're a divorce lawyer, but your friends from college do not know that, and it is totally possible. Like I don't know what my batchmates are doing or my juniors from college are doing. Nobody has time to track all of that. But when I see an article written by a batchmate or a junior or even a school friend, I may not be in touch for so many years, but we are on social media. Like social media is just
Yeah, we talk more online than offline.
absolutely. And when you see that they have written a very insightful article on divorce, laws or a change, an update, anything, I would be like, oh, is she now a divorce lawyer? So let me find out. And what happens is that if inevitably in the next 3 months, people will come up to me and ask, you're a lawyer, do you know a good divorce lawyer in Delhi? Do you know someone good in Bombay? Whatever. And if this person, I have been reading from her content, and I even if I didn't read it, I just saw that she keeps posting about divorce laws, or like maybe about child custody. I would The name that will pop up in my head obviously would be hers, right? I
Yeah.
think it is a great way of shaping the perception of the people you already know and staying on the top of their mind vis-a-vis a certain subject or a certain area of expertise. I think that's an immense power that social media has created for us.
Very much so. You also end up connecting with like-minded people, people who would somewhere be, in a collaborative or a complementary capacity to what you're already doing, and it will help you immensely. You will also somewhere set the stage for yourself to be a leader gradually as you grow in life by setting an example about what your thoughts are, what your philosophies are, and what your expertise is. It's not just about expertise; it's about whole lot of other things. When a firm says that we believe in being approachable, are you displaying that approachability in whatever conversations that you're having online? It's about what you write. Are you as transparent and genuine about writing it, and how often you're actually writing it? You're muted again, Ramanuj.
Is it better? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so what happens is that a lot of times uh, we know about the benefits, but maybe I think a lot of lawyers have started waking up to the fact that internet and social media and online legal platforms and so many things are happening. Things are changing really quickly, and somewhere they feel that they don't understand what could be a strategy. Like, do I go and keep posting about myself on LinkedIn, or what should I actually do? Like, what's the right thing to do here? Like, can you give us some advice on that?
I think at the start of the call, I mentioned that you see firms, you see lawyers posting or getting active on social media, and sometimes it's very easy for somebody like me to figure that there is no direction to what they're doing. So the first question that I usually ask anybody is, what is your objective of getting active online? Is it just to be present out there? Is it to somewhere establish yourself as an expert in a specific practice area? Is it to start getting more employees? Is it to make people aware about how great your firm or your practice is, or what are you working on, and coming up with a strategy around that? It's also about trying to create a conversation, about engaging with people. It's not about just publishing information, which is what I see majorly happening right, at least for the past 2 3 years, when law firms and lawyers have started becoming more active. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, you just see retweets, reposts, shares, and images being posted out there, information that is already on their website, just being passed on social media, and somewhere. The impression is that social media for lawyers is primarily just a press release desk. And if you're doing that, is that really helping you achieve your objective? Because the reason you are on social media is to connect with people, to build more connections, to talk to people, to be in a situation where somebody thinks of you when they have a question in their mind, or a question comes in their mind because of what you wrote. And that whole approach is lacking. That somewhere needs a fix. What you're doing online needs to be thought through. What you post online needs to be thought through. It's not just about sharing what is already out there. It's not about just passing on links. It's about raising a question, trying to start a conversation, nudging people to, ask you what they don't understand, and looking up at you as an expert.
So let me see if I got this right. So you're saying that firstly, like what you see a lot of people doing is that they just go and post a lot of content from their website or anything they have written or etc. Like a lot of information being just dumped on their link
Yeah.
and Twitter and
Pushed down the throat, that's the phrase I keep on using. That I just see a whole lot of content being pushed down the throat of people who are logging into LinkedIn or Facebook.
yeah. But what you are saying is that instead that they should be doing, they should be thinking of creating content is great, but they should be thinking how this content is going to create an impact. Like, what is the intended impact? What is it that you want people to react? And you want people to kind of respond and to your content and think about your content, engage with it maybe, engage in some way or the other, so that it's more than just I wrote this article and whatever, right? Maybe you are
Yeah.
being relevant, whether you are writing something which is relevant to your audience or not. Are they Do they really want to read it? Are they going to share it with a friend? I think that's what you're talking about.
That and also the fact, I'll give you an example. I remember 3 months back, I actually got a call from a firm, and they wanted somebody to help them with social media marketing. And question was as to why social media marketing. Oh, because we built a website. We put in quite a bit in making the website, and we want more people to come to the website. So my next question was, why do you want people to come to the website? Are you selling a product over there? Is it an e-commerce website? Are you publishing books that need to be sold on that website? No, not really. We just want people to know about us. So in that case, why would you be focusing more on getting more website visitors? And that's where the next opinion I have comes up, that law firms and lawyers somewhere are getting into this bandwagon of wanting more website visitors. But why so? You're not selling a product over there. You're not an e-commerce company. You're not selling books over there. It makes a lot of sense if an e-commerce company wants more website visitors, but why do you want more website visitors? Honestly speaking, if you just want more clients, you can do that just by talking to people online, and that need not be on your website. It can be in platforms like Core.
I
It
have,
can be
I have,
platform.
Arti, I've never woke up in the morning and said, today I want to visit a nice law firm website. You know,
It's about
I
what your
doubt anybody
objective
does that.
is.
Like,
It,
I really doubt it that I'll go to somebody's website and just hire them. Wow, such a nice website. Let me hire this lawyer. I think that
yeah,
somewhere that's not very practical to even aim for. But how about like I think there's a lot of value in, even a law firm can generate value from having a good website. But
no,
probably,
definitely. I'm not saying you should not have a website. I'm saying, is your reasoning correct? And
the
are
question
you
is
are
what
you having the
traffic
right?
is coming to your website. Like, I can probably find out ways to drive a million people to your website, and they will basically come and crash your website. It will not serve any
Yeah.
purpose because they don't want your service. So the
So
question is that if I want, however, let's say I want the relevant people. Let's say I'm running a media law practice and I want maybe Bollywood stars and Bollywood actors and singers to know about me. Do you think that is possible? How can it be done, if at all?
it is very much possible. And I'll start getting into the technical terms of things, wherein you have terms like SEO and SMM, meta tags, and a whole lot of that. But it all basically means that you need to have that information which is relevant to that audience online in some form, whether it's your own website, whether it's your social media page or profile. Uh, you need to have that information out there in the online world, and you need to continue updating that information, because that's how Google works, that's how the internet works. If your information is not up to date, you're going to stop showing up in the search results in a way. You will not show up in the top 10 top 3 pages of Google search. uh, and because somebody else, of course, has been putting out more dated and more relevant information out there, you will gradually speed down the queue, and you may not show up in the top 10 pages either. But yes, it is important to have that information out there for anybody to know about that expertise and to be able to find you. Whether you do it through a website, whether you do it through a blog, whether you do it through social media, it is necessary. Why all three? Because people have different reading patterns. I'm somebody who actually likes going to specific blogs every Saturday and just reading through them rather than clogging my inbox with newsletters. Uh, on Mondays, I am primarily just going through, some of the other updates that I receive within my inbox. So it's about reading patterns as well. There's different segments and different habits that people have, and that's why you need to see to that you're covering all the bases. If you do not have the bandwidth or a capacity to cover all the bases, then focus on one, but do it right. Whether it's social media or whether it's website or a blog or newsletters. Focus on one, pick one up, but do it right, do it passionately, and do it consistently. If you have the bandwidth, do all of them because that's what will give you the boost.
I have always thought that, at least initially a lawyer should be doing, or even eventually a lawyer should be doing most of his social media presence and online presence himself or herself. Do you agree with that? Do you think where do you think professionals like you come in? Like, I think I would want to follow a lawyer because of his quality of presence and his wit. Maybe it is the way she presents an argument or writes a content in such an interesting way that a boring topic becomes interesting. But do you think there's a like where is the role that you can play, or any profession you play in this?
I did tell you I'm a little tactless and blunt at times. It's simply because your expertise is to practice the law. My expertise is to be a marketer. Uh, why I call it an expertise is because I know on what algorithm does Google work, how do search results on LinkedIn work, what kind of post and what activity in a post will give it a better shelf life on somebody's wall so that you get more and more readers. So how hashtags work, what are keywords, what is metadata. There's a whole lot of technicality that goes into online marketing, knowledge based marketing, content marketing, all of these platforms. And that's where the expertise of a marketer comes in. Sure. Just like you know exactly how to practice law, what an opinion is, what a memo is, what a draft is, what plea is, or filing is. Similarly,
So I totally get that. But are you saying that a lawyer cannot do it themselves? Like I think they should get started
they
themselves.
can. They definitely should. They should start setting the base for themselves. They should have a profile. That's how I see it. Every lawyer or aspiring lawyer or student should be having a profile for themselves. Not simply because they want to build a big name or brand for themselves, but also start. The most basic thing is to get a great job offer. Recruiters are scouting LinkedIn day in and day out. People have stopped using Naukri.com and those kind of portals. So you need to have an online presence. You need to showcase your expertise there. You need to showcase what activities interest you more, and what sort of affiliations you have as well.
So it's very interesting you say that because we have really seen the power of this online presence in the last few years. I'll tell you how. Like I'm not talking about ourselves, but we run online education courses, right? So a lot of people come to us because they want maybe better jobs or they want to get their first job in a law firm or with a good lawyer, um, you know, and they come from sometimes they come from colleges where they are not going to get campus placement or getting even an internship is very difficult. Like somebody was just telling me that in AZB and partner gets between 50,000 and 90,000 internship applications in a month. They don't even bother to open like more than 100 maybe. You know? And so mostly, even if you send an application, it's very high probability in most of the forms it will never be opened.
Yeah.
So, so that we are faced with this problem is that how can we make sure a person gets even an internship, which is like an opportunity for their to showcase their skills. Let's say the guy is really good at, maybe he's better than somebody from National Law School Bangalore or Nalsar Hyderabad or NUJS Calcutta because he has really put in effort and become so good at at a particular area of law. Let's say he's really fantastic with drafting contracts, or he's really fantastic at, he really knows M&A law in and out as much as a second year associate knows. Somebody
Yeah, that's where the next question comes in. How does anybody know that he's good at it? Apart from his, of course,
yeah,
mark sheet or scores, which,
and
um,
mark sheet doesn't show it, right? Because
yeah, the practical knowledge is very difficult to.
so how can he differentiate himself and get their opportunity? So what
I,
we do
I,
is that, we ask people to, and this we have been doing, right? So we get these students and even see more senior people who are looking for a job. Let's say somebody is practicing for a while in a court and really wants to get into a law firm, and it's very difficult. It's tremendously difficult. Still, a young kid can get in, but somebody is already doing litigation for 3 years says, "I want to work in a big law firm." It's tough. It's really tough unless you have the right background, right kind of contacts. So what we would have them do is we would get them to write really fantastic articles, which would be impressive, right? And
yes.
if you can't do it, then you can't do it. There's nothing else you can do about it. But if you provided you learn and you are researching and you're writing, we can teach you how to do that. So after that, you start writing great articles and then you publish them. So you might be publishing them on IPD's blog. You can publish even on other platforms. There are a number of them. If it is a certain kind of article, maybe Live Law or Legal India might be willing to carry them. But one thing to keep in mind that we always say that it should be a quick publication cycle. It should not be that you send an article and you have to wait for a month to get a response.
Yes.
And then
Self-publish.
yeah. Or you can simply publish on your LinkedIn. Although there's a
Yeah.
problem with unknown people publishing on LinkedIn that nobody reads it because they don't have the contacts.
Yeah, that's where somebody like me would come in who would most probably help with
Ah,
boosting the visibility of that piece. But it is very important to write that article first and put it out there.
absolutely. So, but if you are written in at least an IPRS blog or live blog, people think that okay, this must be something which has gone through a process of vetting, so it might be better. So that credibility comes, and what happens is that once you start publishing these things, and we encourage them that let's say you want to be a banking lawyer, then reach out to other banking lawyers who are already successful or on their way, maybe a few years ahead of you. Share your articles with them, and these should be relevant articles, right? Things on banking law that are upcoming, that is being discussed, that are relevant. And you keep sharing these and ask for their feedback, ask them for suggestions for what else they can write, and start building a conversation on social media.
Yes.
And it has worked 100% of the time.
Yes.
100% of the time. Okay, we
Agreed.
have had people getting jobs through tier 2 law firms, tier 1 law firms also using this process, because what happens that when, let's say, a partner in a law firm comes across a youngster who's like constantly writing and
Because
writing.
that youngster is showing the will, is showing
Yeah,
the will to learn.
maybe the person is from some Karnataka law school which we have not heard of, right?
Hmm.
But the fact that he's writing like this and approaching out, it shows initiative, it shows
Yes.
tremendous, grit, and maybe this will stop working someday, but now it works.
No,
So
yeah, definitely. I don't know how long, of course. Right now with social media, 10 years down the line, there'll be a different parallel universe or
I totally get what you're saying. Like it's such a powerful medium. So if I think if you're a good lawyer, the jump between you finding a client and a client discovering you is much easier than like a kid from some village law college to get into a big law firm or even a tier 2 law firm or any law firm for that matter.
Yep.
And I totally I can connect with what you're saying because we have experienced this so many times. I mean, it's an absolute truth. So, can you share some of the success stories you have seen where people have done really well with a good online presence? Is there any lawyer whose online presence we should check out? That this person has a fantastic online presence.
I think one definitely, which is what I mentioned to you earlier today, also was Cotton Party of the Supreme Court. The other of which, because this is because I am very active in the Quora space. You're muted. I can't hear you. I can just see you.
You're talking about Gautam Bhatia practicing in the Supreme Court, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And the
Why,
other example is
why did you say Gautam Bhatia's online presence is fantastic? What is it?
What he did on Twitter was phenomenal. Sharing everything that was going on within Supreme Court, keeping people informed, and increasing his followers through that, because he somewhere gave people what they were looking for, whether it was updates, information, and from there people started following him because they wanted that information, and he was consistent. He didn't let them down. He continued what he was doing. He built a name for himself as somebody, who was aware and up to date about whatever is going on within the Supreme Court. And from there, even the media picked up his name. From what I recall, he got to be known as an expert within the media space. There be journalists who started quoting him, reaching out to him to find out more and get to know the happenings, and also started quoting him within whatever stories they were covering. He built a brand for himself through Twitter. The other story or example I can share is, this is because I'm more active on Quora. I like uh, people coming up with questions and helping them out with answers. Is Tejaswiti Apte. She's a divorce lawyer in Pune. She's a medical legal expert as well, and she for the past 2 to 3 years has continuously, consistently, always just answering questions that come up in relation to women's rights, in relation to family law, divorce, and a whole lot of that. Answering those questions on Quora, and she has right now, I think, close to 33,000 followers. I'll need to go and check, but she has those many followers, and she keeps on getting queries related to, of course, her expertise. People seek out her help also in situations where they need a legal expert. She's built a name for herself within that world. She's made so many connections out there. She's sort of become a brand for herself. I think she's also given a TEDx talk somewhere.
Right.
So
And
there's an immense power. It's more about sharing your information, putting it out there, writing articles, sharing your views on something that is going on, rather than just sharing the headline, basically. So that people know what your thought process is, what you have to say, what your opinion is on a certain situation, so they can start relating to you, and also being responsive and consistent in sharing what you're sharing, because then readers start looking up to you. Readers are looking forward to what you have to say. So consistency is also pretty important. You can't be in a situation where you publish 2 3 articles at the start of the year, and then once you start getting work, you stop drafting or publishing, because you have readers who are looking forward to
I
that.
think that has happened to a lot of us.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
I
no,
admit.
so consistency is very important. Like I remember, not only on social media, I remember starting the blog, IPDS blog, back in 2000, I think 7, 8, and it has been a good 10 years since then. And the first 8 years, maybe we had no traffic, like not no traffic to speak of, because we did not publish consistently. We would publish when we could publish. But after that, once we started publishing one post a day, and we actually started one a week, we made sure no matter what happens, we post one post a week. And it was tough for us, but we did it. Then it was one post a day. Somehow we graduated to one post a day. And then we graduated to three, four posts a day. I mean, and even today we struggle to keep that pace, and we have to put in a lot of effort towards it. But that consistency paid off, and last year we, from having about 15 lakh people on our blog, we right now we are around 75 lakh people on our blog in a year. Like, that's the kind of numbers we could reach. And also, now that you mentioned Tejasvi Apte, I clearly remember there was a time when I was very active on Quora.
I
And I
know.
used to write about legal education, I think, or even I wrote about other.
Yeah, you and I somewhere crossed paths on Quora when some intern was asking a question about which are the top law firms to work for in India. And there was a question about how to work in a US law firm if you're an Indian lawyer. I remember that, and I had somewhere tagged you also asking
So
around.
for me, it
Maybe you
was
might.
clear, I wanted to promote my courses, and I wrote with that clear objective. I would answer questions, and I did it for a while. I think I did it for a good 5 6 months, and even I think I still have a few thousand followers, maybe 5 6 thousand, something like that. And it was working, but I abandoned that at some point because I had other things to do. And
Consistency.
consistency, even if you're doing well, if you're doing fantastic, Ajashita definitely had fewer followers back then, and but what happened is that she stuck onto that platform and kept delivering, kept doing the good thing, and I think that makes the huge difference, in terms of uh, a long term thing. It's not like you do something for a month, 6 months, a year. Probably if you're willing to do something for years to come, that's going to probably where it really counts. So I think that point you make about online presence being a long term game is very important, and not everybody really gets it. It's not like a 3 month engagement, 6 month engagement with social media. Oh, I have arrived, right?
Yeah. No, no, it's a long term thing, and you have to, it's a commitment because apart from getting what you wanted to from it, you also have this these followers, people who look forward to your content, and you're letting them down if you're not sticking to your commitment.
Right.
In a way,
Absolutely.
you've set an example. You've somewhere become a leader in what you're doing. They look forward to you as an expert, and they expect that expertise to continue coming out from you.
Absolutely. So I think we have covered many different things. We are running out of time, sort of. I just realized this conversation could go on for another hour, maybe, but we are at almost eight. This is 8:56. So we have about 4 5 minutes. We can extend by a few minutes, but not too much. And we have got a lot of questions. I can see on the YouTube feed many questions. I can see. I'll read out a few questions. So the latest
Okay.
question is from Divesh Srivastava. He's asking, is more and more content important for increasing our online presence? What did you say to it? I want to take this question before you do.
Go ahead.
So there's a friend of mine, I don't want to take any names here, of course, but I have been seeing in the last uh, few months, he has been publishing article after article, like, literally. Uh, there are a lot of different journals, newspapers, her articles come out, and she shares it over WhatsApp, LinkedIn, everywhere. And at some level, I was very happy. Like, I was like, look, this person is doing fantastic marketing. This is so awesome. But I am tired of it. From a supporter, I am become like an annoyed person who's like, I don't even want to respond to these things anymore. Forget looking at what she's sending, because if you send these things every day, it's really annoying. Like, somewhere people who are doing, being very active on social media needs to keep in mind that there's got to be like a decent frequency. It's not like, you just keep sharing your events every day, or your photos every day, or your articles every day. There has to be, you can do it with, if people have signed up for that, but probably people on your WhatsApp or your LinkedIn or your the LinkedIn, still it's okay. I mean, you can always easily ignore something on
Yeah.
it. But it's not really that nice if you're doing it that frequently. Probably once a week will be a better kind of.
Yeah, there has to be a balance because at the end of the day, whatever you're doing, unless you're trying to become a publisher or an author yourself, there has to be a balance because the objective for you to do this was to build a brand for yourself or for your firm. Uh, and for that, you also have to actually practice law and work on matters and cases and deals. So balance it out. And also your publishing methodology somewhere has to be in moderation. Like I said, social media is not about a press test. Similarly, newsletters is not about becoming a spammer in the inbox of your recipient. So it has to be in moderation. There has to be a frequency. There has to be a periodicity, and there has to be relevance. And that's where again,
I think relevance is
research
what here.
relevance is very important because that's where you
Like,
start.
give people what they're asking for. Don't give them like what you want to give them. I mean, this is very critical. I think we all need to understand that what people want, we must deliver that, and there must be a promise of what we want to deliver. If there's a newsletter, there should be a clear promise of what this is all about. Or if there is, there should be a clear theme of your Twitter feed or LinkedIn. It cannot be any random thing that becomes painful for others who start following.
True, very true. The focus basically there has to be a focus area,
Yeah, I think.
and it has to be pretty obvious that you're focusing only.
Okay. Let's see. There are some more questions. Let us see. This is more of Please classify the necessary steps for beginning an individual practice in order of priority. I mean, I don't think this is relevant to online presence. We'll take only questions which are relevant to online presence. How should an independent counsel or small firm go about business development, especially in corporate practice? I think this is a very important question. Maybe we can take this.
I think for the corporate practice, the visibility is
A
not just
small one.
about,
Remember that. It's not a big one. Like a small.
yeah, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. It's years of experience. So when you are in a practice which is transactional, there are a whole lot of parties involved in your work. It's not just about the other side, the other counsel, and not just about the clients. So, as far as business development is concerned, I'm not talking marketing, I'm not talking visibility, I'm talking more about business development. I think it's very important for firms and practices and individuals focusing on corporate law and transactions to also somewhere connect with all the different players within that space. And when I say players, I'm talking about consultants that are involved in the with corporates, whether it's doing business in India, registrations, and a whole lot of that. Also having interactions. Sorry, I'll be freezing.
I can hear you. You're audible. Don't do anything. You're audible. Go ahead.
Okay, so the screen kind of froze, so I got thrown off. So it's about connecting with more than just general counsels, and how you connect also makes a difference, and that's where I mentioned again and again that social media plays a very important role. People are on LinkedIn, but people do not realize that LinkedIn have these very focused groups, whether it's for private equity, whether it's for general counsels, whether it's for company law, NCLT, and all of that. There are very focused groups, and very few lawyers are actually interacting within those groups with the people. The people in those groups are there because they want information relating to that area. So, figuring out the focus area, figuring out where your audience is, and interacting with that audience is what is going to help you with the business development.
So how can they get started? Like if I want to get started on business development, I haven't, I don't know, maybe I have a few clients who come to me, but I want to expand it now and I have never done anything before towards business development. How can I get started? What would be my first two, three steps?
I think the most basic thing that I tell everybody, which lacks with every person I meet, is that do you actually have your contacts organized in a certain way that this is my this is my client, or and this is a peer within the industry, and this is another law firm outside the country or inside the country, and this is a consultant. Have your lists in place. Start interacting with them by sharing news and updates and coming up with articles. Content writing again plays a big role, because the more you start, what happens with corporate and transactions is that once you finish a deal, uh, that's all there was to it. And beyond that, people might actually forget you. So it is very important to continue staying in front of them, have a recall, and that's where you continue writing, sharing newsletters, sharing blog posts. Because once they start seeing you again and again, and tomorrow if somebody else is looking for a similar advisor, they will be able to refer you. The other bit is also coming up with a strategy. What are the type of companies, what are the type of sectors and what industries that you're focusing on as far as corporate practice is concerned? Because when you say corporate, it's a wide gamut of things. So from there, approaching or trying to focus on those specific sectors, addressing the pain points regarding those sectors and the content that you generate, and sharing that on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's through your blog, whether it's through your mailing list of newsletters. But coming up with the right content that is relevant to those people, that audience, and sharing it is what is going to somewhere present you as an expert also in that space, and increase your visibility in front of them. Does that help? I'm zoning out a lot. I don't know why the screen is freezing. So
Yeah, I think some maybe some bandwidth problem. Although we both have really fast internet, but I don't know what is happening. There's some problem that is happening. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. We are at 9:05. We should wrap up this session. And I really want to thank you, Arti. Like, it was a great discussion. You shared some tremendous insights, and
It's
we
been a
have to,
pleasure.
we would love to have you back again. I think this conversation is a much longer conversation, to be honest. And
Yeah.
we have been able to touch a few things, but there's a lot more to discuss in depth. And we look
Yeah.
forward to have you back on an hour with LawSikho.
I look forward to joining you again.
All right. Thank
It's
you
been a
so much.
pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Bye. Bye, everyone.